Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Club Treasurer Education. My name is Barbara Hare. I'm from the State College Club. And with us tonight, we have Governor Sarah Suletta and also Conrad Schlesinger from our Lock Haven Club. So they will be help facilitating the training tonight. And we're going to walk you through your roles and responsibilities to help you prepare for your upcoming role as Club Treasurer. Thank you for making the commitment. And thank you for being a leader in your club. So just a few housekeeping notes. We ask that you open up your chat and introduce yourself by entering your name and tell us which club you're in. Ensure that you stay on mute unless you're speaking. There's a raise hand feature if you want to ask a question. And this will be interactive as possible, but please put any questions you have in the chat box. And there is a save chat feature which is available that will help you save any of the notes in the chat as well. There'll also be some links put in chat. So let's check the chat and see who's here. Sandy, Melissa, Bob. What else we got? Lee. Nice. People kind of from all over. Excellent. Well, welcome everyone. All right, the information on the trainings was set forth by the Kiwanis International. You will be receiving these international training links. The difference between this training and the KI training is that this training will focus on our Pennsylvania district and our governors here tonight, so you can ask questions live. Okay. Our expectation for tonight is that you'll leave the training with a strong foundational understanding of what your roles and responsibilities are as a club treasurer, and you feel like you have the tools to be that. We'll be covering the following areas during tonight's training: our Pennsylvania district, our Pennsylvania Kiwanis Foundation, the Children's Fund, your job description, club dues and processing, accounts and budgets, and important forms. There is a leadership guide that you can use the code there if you have your phone and want to scan it, or there is a link to the leadership guide. You can look at it online or print it out if you would like. Our goal is to prepare you to lead your Kiwanis Club with growth, retention, and service, and to manage your club's operations effectively. But before we dig in too deep, we're going to listen from a message from our international president-elect, Bert West.
Thank you for being a Kiwanis leader in the 2022 administrative year. When I was elected to become Kiwanis International President, I made a promise that I would act in the best interest of individual clubs and members, the heart of our organization. Now, I encourage you in your new position to find your own leadership style, one that is comfortable to you. Kiwanis International is constantly updating tools and materials to support you, so you can build your skills and gain confidence as you take on new responsibilities. Become familiar with all the programs that Kiwanis offers, from K-Kids, a focus for next year, all the way to Kiwanis Amplified, which received tremendous reviews in its second year. Please set up your club for success by using the 2-for-2 tool and planning a special club meeting in September to engage your entire membership with the workbook. I also encourage you to reach out to other Kiwanis leaders and coaches, past and present, to learn what approaches work for you. Their experience is a valuable resource that can help strengthen your club and its positive force in your community. While you participate in our club leadership education, I want you to remember this: don't forget the salt. That means details matter. As you study our materials, put together plans, and turn them into action, each detail is there for a reason. They all add up to successful outcomes. I wish you the best in your new role. Have fun with it, and thank you for your commitment to kids and Kiwanis.
All right. So as you can see, next year, I think it's going to be a great year, and we're excited about the commitment that you've made. Okay, our goal for tonight is to prepare you to become better club treasurers through ethical stewardship, clear communication, and excellent organization. For existing treasurers, our goal is that you will be able to utilize new features in the club management system, hear new information from Kiwanis International, and implement best practices for using the system. So if we could just take a few minutes and share in the chat, or even if you want to raise your hand, tell us kind of what some of your expectations for the training is tonight. We'd appreciate that. So you can put it in chat if you'd like. Sarah also put the link in the chat for the leadership guide. Anybody have any thoughts for the training tonight? How many people this is your first time as treasurer? Ah, Bob, it's your first time. Anybody else? No, we got all
Some thumbs
veterans.
up. Nadine from Emmaus.
Anyone else? Understand which accounts go for which expenses and how to build a budget. Oh, good. Lee, 2 years, but I think I can be better. Hey, we can all improve, Lee, that's for sure. Okay. Well, we're going to cover a lot of areas tonight, so hopefully we will hit your goals. And if not, please email us and we'll help you any way we can. All right. So we'll look forward. Our expectation for tonight is that you'll leave with the training with strong foundational understanding of what your roles and responsibilities are as your club treasurer. And we feel that you have the tools to be successful. There's 4 measurable parameters to determine your success. So the appropriate expenses in club accounts, completion of dues process on time, successful annual audit, and compliance with your local and Kiwanis International policies. Okay, so this is really one of our first opening activity. We all have different fundraisers at our clubs. If you could put in the chat some of your favorite fundraising events, we'd love to get some new ideas. It's always interesting to hear what other clubs do. I know with State College, our biggest fundraiser is the blueberries. I think we sold almost 3,000 boxes of blueberries this year. So it is a big fundraiser for us. Fruit sale. Oh, Lee. You do that in November, December, and January. That's pretty interesting. Lee, is it? I was just wondering, Lee, is it like fruit baskets or do you do like?
So we've been doing it for years. However, our club has shrunken. And so has our customer base on our fruit sale. But we would get like 14 pallets of cases of fruit, grapefruit, navel oranges, and we would unload them and make like $30,000–$40,000 in profit.
Wow.
But now we're making about 6, and we're only getting about 6 pallets or so in.
Yeah, that's interesting though. That sounds good.
But we used to do it from like November all the way into March. But now we're like 2 years, just November and December. But we're thinking about doing it again in January or February.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice time too. People want some fruit in the winter time. So that's excellent. Sarah, you do a kickball tournament? Do you?
It was a pre-COVID, but it was one of the fun things. Yeah, we would charge for people to be on the team, and we'd make money off that. Everyone would get a t-shirt, and we had a little social afterwards. So it was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know Penns Valley does a mud volleyball tournament.
Yeah, that sounds
And
fun.
that's interesting to witness. I did for the first time before COVID, and it was one guy went to the hospital. He messed up his leg, but
Yeah, we had
interesting.
we've had some issues. Yeah, we took some trips to the ER for some years. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yep.
Spaghetti dinners, farm show milkshakes. I think I've had one or two of those milkshakes. They're pretty good. Pancakes.
Well, great ideas.
Yeah. Pancake breakfast. All right. Well, thank you all. Those are great ideas. And it's great to hear what other clubs are doing. Thank you for sharing. All right, Sarah, Governor Sarah is going to talk about Pennsylvania.
All right. So to really understand your role and your responsibilities, first we need to better understand the organization that you're part of. And we're going to start with the Pennsylvania District and tell you a little bit about our leaders and also the upcoming goals for the next year. So as you know, our Pennsylvania District office is now in Enola, PA. We were in Harrisburg, we've moved to Enola. And our executive director is Kevin Thomas, and administrative assistant is Michelle March. And our incoming officer starting October 1st will be Mike Kuba, who is the current governor-elect, but he is from the Kiwanis Club of Wyoming area. I will be the immediate past governor, yay. And then governor-elect to be determined is that we have one sole candidate, Conrad Schlesinger from the Kiwanis Club of Lock Haven. He is on and one of our facilitators tonight. That election will be held at our 2022 district convention in Erie, PA. So those will be our leaders. And then, as you know, our district is our region system. So we have a 7 board of trustees that represent each of the geographic areas in Pennsylvania. And we currently have, we have 7 regional trustees. Region 1 is vacant, and that's up in the, if you're not familiar with the area, like Erie and Bradford, all the way up north. That is currently vacant due to Tom Bowes passing this year. Region 2 is Sean Smith from the Kiwanis Club of Sheridan out by Pittsburgh. Region 3, Miranda Burton from the Kiwanis Club of Phillipsburg. Region 4 is Penny Myers from the Kiwanis Club of Bald Eagle, Nittany Valley. And Region 5 is represented by Ryan Hartman from the Kiwanis Club of Dillsburg and the Kiwanis Club. And Region 6 is Tiffany Kaleo from the Kiwanis Club of Wyoming area. And Region 7 will be Joe Wilson from the Kiwanis Club of Southampton. And they all start October 1st. So, and these will be your lieutenant governors. I won't read everybody's name, but you can notice that everybody, there are some vacancies in the divisions, and we're working towards getting representation in those areas. And if the person's name is starred, actually, we just had a board meeting, so they have all been approved to be appointed as lieutenant governors. So, and the listing, if you don't know which division you are, there is a URL there, and I'm gonna put it in the chat for you so you know what division you are in. So there is a listing there. Okay. And just so you understand that the hierarchy, we just want to show you how you fit into that big picture. Well, this is it's kind of like a machine, and you know, we wanted to make sure that every part of the system is together. So you want to make sure that, click on the first, you know that you are part of a club, and your club is part of a division, and then the division is part of a region. Typically, each region is includes 3 divisions for the most part, and then each region is part of our Pennsylvania district. So we have 7 regions, and we have 20 divisions at this time, and we have currently 150 clubs. Just so you know, just giving you stats. See, that wasn't even on the notes, guys. I threw that out. I knew that one. All right, go ahead next. So want to give you a little bit about our strategic plan. A task force was developed for where we did a 3-year strategic plan, and it was approved October 9th, 2021. The plan basically outlines our key strategic priorities: leadership education, service leadership program relations, improved member experience, and district operations. I share this because as you'll see, all our goals and the board's goals are really geared in these 4 areas. And so you will notice the governor goals and priorities will be around these same areas. And so were my goals as well. So we want to have that consistent, smooth transition as we go into the next administrative year. So we will start with the governor priorities. So the governor priorities, which will be under Mike Kuba, he will be the governor in 22-23. It will be these are the priorities. And he, just so you know, Mike Kuba will be the 100th governor of the Pennsylvania district. And these are the 5. Will be to improve the member experience, share Kiwanis in new communities, promote diversity, equity, inclusion at all levels in Kiwanis. 4 is to strengthen Kiwanis service leadership programs. And number 5 is to improve district operations. So these align with our strategic plan. So with each of those areas, we have what we call 5 pillars of success. So our first goal is around membership, of course, starting October 1st. The goal is for the membership team and our district to open 7 new Kiwanis clubs. So sharing Kiwanis in 7 new communities is our goal. We also want to reduce the number of clubs under charter strength by 25%. Basically in charter strength, just so you know, is if your club is 15 and below, that's what we call below charter strength. In 2020, there was about 50% under charter strength, and we've increased, and currently actually stand, we've got that down lower than that. I actually don't have the exact figure. I want to give you the exact figure, but it's lower than that. But we're going to continue that same goal. And we're also going to increase the club membership by a net +2 in 25% of the clubs. All we're asking is that every club try to gain at least +2. We know that people are losing members, but we also want to make sure at the end of the year that we have a +2 in at least 25% of the clubs. And then also the net gain in membership over the previous year as certified by October 10th, 2023. So we hope to have an increase this year. We also want to keep increasing in the following year. So it's always just a goal to grow our district. So our next area is a pillar of success is our service leadership programs. The goals here are 90% of the service leadership programs be active in the school and communities. Have 100% of service leadership programs be sponsored and engaged and active. So you're just because you're sponsoring a service leadership program like a K-Kids or a Key Club, you want to make sure you're engaged and have involvement. You're not just the advisor on paper. We want to make sure that's 100% there. The goal for our district is to open 2 new clubs in Circle K, Key Club, and Builders Club, one of those service leadership programs. And in particular, we're going to open 5 new K-Kids and clubs. If you recall from the Burt West video, he said K-Kids is one of his most favorite things. So that is a goal for our district as well. Our next pillar, the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, nicknamed JEDI initiative. This was formed and improved starting October 30th, 2021. So this year is their first year. And so the goal for the following year is to continue with our Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion initiative through the district, through various education at our district convention, mid-year and quarterly JEDI awareness opportunities. So you're going to look out for some opportunities around that. In pillar 4, leadership education. This is an important area to ensure we develop our emerging leaders and provide our organization stability for Kiwanis with new leaders and ideas and energy. So for you being here, it's helping with the goal of promoting our leadership education. So one of the goals is to have 20 members of Pennsylvania clubs participate in Kiwanis Amplify Leadership Program and provide 50% funding for the attendees. So if you're not familiar, Kiwanis International has an initiative that's called Kiwanis Amplify. It is an 8-week online program that is facilitated by professionals and experts in the industry on various topics. And they teach various units, and we get to experience those classes. And those classes are ranging from project management, effective leadership, improved communication skills, diversity, equity, and inclusion, marketing, and so much more. So, and our district will continue the cost to be on for this 8-week program is $200, and the Pennsylvania district will commit a $100 scholarship if you complete the program. So it's really $100 back, and we're going to continue that initiative. And another goal is to have monthly virtual education opportunities for members, and we continue to do that. We have been providing that monthly. And then the next goal is 60% of the club officers attend club leadership education, and you're here today. So thank you for participating. So our next and last pillar of success is our district leadership and operations. This is focused on ensuring that the district leadership is laser focused on ensuring district leaders and operations are effective, efficient, and planned for our future. And during this challenging time, I know membership's declining, but we are looking to make sure that we are working optimally at the district level. So in order to do this, some of the pillars include the goals also for next year is one is to obtain new lieutenant governors in 50% of those vacant divisions. So if you saw on the previous slides, we have 6 vacancies. The hope is we get at least half of that by January 1st, if not all. It'd be ideal to have leaders across our district. Of course, to review and update our district strategic plan by October 8th, we want to check in where we are and then improve on that. Continue working on district redivisioning plan that is being evaluated right now, and achieve 90% compliance and mandatory background checks among all required leaders. So that is something that we're striving for as well. And I wanted to make sure you guys know as treasurers, this is important, district program called Dollars for Dues. It is a program to support existing members that have been financially impacted due to illness. Maybe they have a loss of job or for themselves or a partner. What this program does, it allows us to support their dues if they apply or someone else in their club applies for them on their behalf. Okay, so they can apply at pakiwanis.org on the website and just go under news, and you'll see Dollars for Dues. Again, this is something you can fill out the application. It is available online even starting now. So if you have a club member, so treasurers, if you have a club member that you know of that it's probably going to be dropping maybe September 30th before, before we clear our rosters, maybe for financial reasons, consider having them apply for Dollars for Dues. Most of the time they will be at least getting some money back to support their dues. So the link for that, the direct link I'll put in the chat just so the treasurers have it. And the way the process works is if that person is awarded partial dues or 100% dues based on the application, the check goes right to the treasurer. So you guys are the treasurers, you will receive a check for this person's dues. Okay, so just wanted to let you know that this is the program that is available and the treasurers are definitely involved. Next is, I just want to make sure you're aware of our Pennsylvania district calendar coming up. Of course, we have August 11th through the 14th is our district convention in Erie, PA. August 20th, we also have our Action Club convention in Altoona, Pennsylvania. In September and October is usually when you guys have your club installations of officers. Make sure you work with your incoming officers to contact your lieutenant governors to make sure you get that installation date. And of course, October 1st starts our new Kiwanis year. Our fiscal year is, if you don't know, is October 1st to September 30th. So we start a new year October 1st. By October 10th, all rosters need to be finalized. So working with your secretary, we want to make sure we remove anyone who is not going to be on our roster because you will get a dues invoice for them after that. And February 2023 will be a mid-year conference. We're still determining at the district level if it's going to be in person or virtual. And then June 21st to 24th, so you know, our next international conference for Kiwanis is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, June 21st, 24th. And then next year, August 10th to the 13th, 2023, the convention will be held in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And of course, our fiscal year will end September 30th, 2023 next year. So that's just some important dates for you guys to know for Pennsylvania. And just so you know, also our district board meetings, we meet 4 times a year officially. These are our dates, and the ones that are in STAR are in-person meetings, the others are virtual. All members are welcome. So especially in virtual, feel free to pop in as well. And one of the focus of the Pennsylvania district is early learning. So we just want to make you aware we support these initiatives that help children from ages 0 to 5 in kindergarten. We work with the foundation. We distribute the foundation distributes the early learning guides with us. There currently are 4. There's learning is everywhere. Everywhere I learn. Everywhere, every day I learn through play. In kindergarten, here I come. And then the new one, kindergarten, here I am. So that is the 4th one. We also have some in Spanish. So we partner with the Early Learning Investment Commission and support pre-K for PA. So if your club would like copies of these guides, make sure to apply online, and I'll put that link online in the chat for you, so your club is aware of that in the foundation. And lastly, I introduced you to we'll just say the money arm of Pennsylvania Kiwanis is our Pennsylvania Kiwanis Foundation, and PK, we nickname them PKF. They raise funds from the community, us as Kiwanians, and make sure we give the monies back through the community impact through these projects. They provide Kiwanis Club grants, K-Family grants, scholarships. They support the Early Learning Initiative, obviously through the Early Learning Guides that I just talked about. And they support service leadership programs, obviously through scholarships and grants as well. So I just want you to be aware of the foundation as treasurers, because you'll probably be getting some notices from them to encourage maybe having a line item in your budget for a contribution to the Pennsylvania Kiwanis Foundation. And I'll put that in there for you. Okay, so next I'm gonna have Conrad talk about the Children's Fund.
Sarah, there was one question here from Lee. It says it's just the dues to go to international, correct?
It's just the dues to go to, meaning, oh, the dollar. No, yeah, so it's the dues. So if your dues altogether is just say 120, and that includes international and Pennsylvania and your club dues altogether, whatever the member owes, the member is going to apply for, they can apply for all 120. Most people try to get all 120 and then they apply though, but based on what they're doing at the club, one of the things that the committee does look for, it's a confidential committee, they look to see how involved that member in the club. And they base it on a certain rubric, and sometimes people get half the money, some people they get, it doesn't matter. We don't divide it by international or district. It's whatever the amount that the member is applying for. Some members actually only ask for, we just need $50 to help us, you know, and that's it. So that's what that is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. In 2020, 2021, we worked to clarify what our clubs do most and best. After communications with Kiwanis members and clubs around the world, we defined our 3 cause areas that Kiwanis service supports. Number 1 is health and nutrition. Number 2 is education and literacy. And number 3 is youth leadership development. Together, these causes form a continuum of impact. The work we do in each cause provides a head start on success in the next. By supporting the shared Kiwanis causes, the Kiwanis Children's Fund helps clubs and members make a continuum on impact of children's lives. From prenatal into young adulthood, kids need Kiwanis. Through gifts to the Kiwanis Children's Fund, our members and clubs are developing generations of leaders who are ready to learn and ready to lead. Powered by the Kiwanis Children's Fund and through the collective work of Kiwanis members around the globe, Kiwanis International has raised and leveraged $261 million for prenatal and childhood nutrition, beginning with our efforts to address iodine deficiency disorders and continuing with eliminating maternal and neonatal tetanus. Kiwanis has increased cognitive development among children and literally saved the lives of mothers and children. We pledge to continue substantially efforts in the area of optimal iodine nutrition and will continue to work to eliminate maternal and neonatal tetanus until the mortality rate reaches 0. The Kiwanis family makes an impact right from the start. Brain development is 90% complete by age 5, and together, health and nutrition are a key factor in this development and an essential Kiwanis cause. As cognitive development takes place, children become ready to learn. A healthy child is a child who is ready to learn, and educated, literate children are more likely to fulfill their potential and become leaders later in life. Nearly 2,000 Kiwanis clubs report projects supporting education and literacy. From time-honored Kiwanis initiatives such as book drives and school supply giveaways to tutoring services and more, members around the world help carry on the organization's tradition of support for education and literacy. Leaders are readers. That's one reason education and literacy are so important to Kiwanis. They provide the skills young people need to become leaders in life. Leadership skills must be developed, and that's why leadership development is one of Kiwanis' causes. The Kiwanis Children's Fund provides support for our service leadership programs, which offer opportunities to develop leadership skills that make them more likely to impact the lives of future generations of children. Consider having a budget line item in your club budgets to support the Kiwanis Children's Fund. Excuse me. Your election as a treasurer of your Kiwanis Club is proof that your fellow members see you as a person of integrity with an aptitude for finance. Along with the club board, you are responsible for your club's solvency and financial stability. Take pride in your leadership role. You've earned your club's trust. It's important to know what the club treasurer position entails. While many things are universal, there may be additional information you will need to obtain to keep your club in good standing with your state or country. When in doubt, ask your club's financial auditing firm or your Kiwanis district office, as both may have more specific information for your location. A full list of treasurer's responsibilities, qualifications, and duties can be found in the leadership guide. I have the page on the screen for you now. Let's look at some of the key items you will be responsible for in the upcoming year. Many are aware that the treasurer collects member dues and maintains the club's finances. But there is much more behind the scenes work, like keeping the club in good financial standing. The treasurer also impacts the relationships the club has with the community. Some of your key duties and responsibilities include maintaining good financial stewardship, collecting funds, and preparing your annual budget. You will work with the club secretary to coordinate the club's financial responsibilities and records. The treasurer often serves as an advisor to the club on financial matters, including setting a club budget. You are also a member of your club's board of directors, meaning you are entitled to participate in all board discussions and are eligible to vote on any question put to vote by the presiding officer. Kiwanis International dues are set by the House of Delegates, while the fees are established by the Kiwanis International Board based on the cost of the service provided. The fees can fluctuate slightly to reflect the change in the cost. You do not have to charge the same amount for all of your members as long as it is indicated in your club's bylaws. Discounted club dues for senior memberships or for opting out of prepaid meals are popular options for many clubs. An effective October 1st, 2022, the insurance fee has been increased by $5 that the Kiwanis International Board approved, which is due to increased cost of insurance. Keep in mind, this has not been updated for several years. Currently, it's $17 for insurance and will be increased to $22. Therefore, the total dues are now $117 plus any club dues that you may assess. Now, again, this takes place October 1st, and an email has started to come out today from Kiwanis International indicating that that $5 increase is going to be called the risk management fee. We don't know for sure how it's going to be portrayed on the invoice, but be aware that you'll have a $5 increase. Dues are prorated for each month for new members for clubs. For example, if a new member joins in January, your club will be charged $26.25 for the Pennsylvania district dues and $61.50 for international dues, totaling $87.75. To keep it simple, you may want to say dues are $88 to round it up. Members of the local Kiwanis Club pay membership dues and fees to their club. The dues and fees paid by members support Kiwanis International, Kiwanis District, and the Kiwanis Club. Total amount a member pays in dues depends entirely on his or her club and district and is determined by the appropriate governing body. For district dues, this decision is made by the District House of Delegates. For club dues, club bylaws and policies state that club membership dues, fees, and other assessments must be approved by 2/3 vote of the members present and voting. Members must be provided with at least 14 days notice of the vote and be informed of the proposed amount. And that's in club bylaws, which is Article 8.5. There are 2 exceptions to the amounts listed previously. While it is a condition of membership that each member is a subscriber to the official publication of Kiwanis International, if both spouses are members of a club, not necessarily the same club, one spouse may choose not to subscribe to the magazine, which results in a reduction in fees. To receive the benefit, the spouse or club secretary can contact member services. The other exception is an international dues waiver for former service leadership program members. If a new member is an alumnus of a service leadership program, the club should not charge that member for Kiwanis International dues for 2 years after joining their first Kiwanis club. They are still required to pay for the insurance and magazine fees. If the new member is reported properly when added to the club roster by the club secretary, this 2-year waiver will automatically appear on the club invoice. Check with your district office to see whether your district waives district dues for new members who are alumni of service leadership programs. All exceptions are intended to be financial benefits to the eligible member and should be reflected on their personal invoices. One moment. All right. As with most things related to finance and accounting, there are clear expectations and deadlines regarding the completion of steps in the dues invoice process. Members of local Kiwanis clubs pay annual membership dues and fees to their club. The dues and fees paid by members support Kiwanis International, Kiwanis District, and the Kiwanis Club. The total amount a member pays in dues depends entirely on his or her club and district and is determined by the appropriate governing body. The key to ensuring your invoicing is done properly is to work with the club secretary on adding and deleting members in real time. Take care of this task as it happens. Adding members in real time will be crucial moving forward because of the new prorated dues structure. Deleting members in real time is important also to help give your club, division, and district leaders a realistic picture of what membership looks like in your area prior to the end of the administrative year. That said, there's a hard deadline for member deletions where they will continue to be billed as part of your roster. Kiwanis International Administrative Year ends on September 30th. Any deleted members must be submitted by your club secretary no later than October 10th, or you will be billed for them. After this 10-day window, your invoice is locked. Invoices are mailed the last week of October or the first week of November. You have 30 days to remit payment. Lastly, U.S. clubs can pay online. Clubs outside of the U.S. or who do not wish to pay online can do so according to the instructions on your invoice. And this following information is for North American clubs only. When your club receives an invoice from Kiwanis International for continuing members or new members, both the Kiwanis International and district costs are included when applicable. Also, Kiwanis International collects fees for the Kiwanis International European Federation for those clubs when applicable. To simplify the payment process for clubs, Kiwanis International collects all of the dues and fees mentioned above and then distributes them appropriately. Also, if your club sponsors a builders club or K-Kids, their renewal fees will be billed to your club. Just a reminder, your invoice is based on your membership as of September 30th. There is a 10-day grace period to delete members from your roster, which means October 10th, sorry. The invoice is mailed the last week of October or the first week of November to the Secretary of Record, and online payment is available. We've talked a lot about member dues and what they consist of, but how do we go about collecting them? Collecting dues does not have to be a grueling process if everyone knows what to expect up front. November or December, it is highly recommended that dues be scheduled for payment to the club by October 1st. This will help clubs anticipate any changes to the club roster while it's still possible to adjust without financial penalty. Some clubs choose to bill members quarterly or semi-annually, especially for any required club fees like meal costs, to ease the financial burden on the members. That is a decision a club can make. But the invoice payable to Kiwanis International will all be due at the same time, so plan ahead with your cash flow. And I will input here that our club, the Lock Haven Club, we have a quarterly dues process. However, some members elect to pay semi-annually or annually. While dues are not paid to Kiwanis International until late November or December, it's highly recommended that dues be scheduled for payment to the club by October 1st. This will help clubs anticipate any changes to the club roster while it's still possible to make adjustments without financial penalty. Some clubs have the option of paying dues through district websites and resources. Contact your district secretary to find out whether this is an option for your club. A question for you folks that are on here this evening: what platforms or programs do you use to help track and manage your budgets? And if you would put those responses in the chat, we'd appreciate it.
Basically, do you use Excel to track your budgets, Google Sheets? Maybe you just guys use paper, or maybe some more advanced. If you have a foundation, maybe you have QuickBooks or Quicken. Yep, Chad's got Quicken. Excel. Yep. Okay. Cool.
Sarah, I noticed you put here about, does any clubs add meals in your dues? Our club does.
Right. I figured. I was just wondering if Lock Haven was the only one. I was just curious.
Could very well be. You know why? It's always been done that way.
Always been done. My favorite. Yeah. Excel. So Excel is pretty popular. It's pretty easy too. So that makes sense.
Okay. Barb, thank you. As treasurer, you may see the member invoice as a bill. If you ask your membership chairman or the service committee chairman, he or she will likely consider the invoice an opportunity to talk about the great work the club accomplished in the last year and how members made a difference. By the way, here's the invoice for this year. While this is a subtle difference, there's an important distinction. You're not asking members to consider renewing their membership, thus considering not renewing. You're inviting them to continue to invest in the community by continuing their involvement with your Kiwanis Club. It has become a standard practice to send an invoice attached to an email. If your members will respond well to that delivery method, it can be a cost-saving way to avoid postage and can be more subtle. Make sure every invoice has these components. Also, keep in mind, not every member pays the same amount. Your member statements need to reflect those discounts accordingly. All exceptions are intended to be financial benefits to the eligible member and should be reflected on their personal invoices. And with that, go back to Barb.
Yeah, thank you. All right, the administrative accounts. While some clubs may have the need for several separate bank accounts, every club has a minimum of 2, the administrative account and a service account. Accounts in the club's name will likely be business accounts that will require 2 signatures for all banking transactions. And if it's not required, it is highly suggested that the club opt for the requirement of 2 signatures. While it's inconvenient at times, it's a smart business practice, especially in a service organization that wants to be transparent. The administrative account is for all administrative expenses of the club. The majority of these funds come from annual club dues and meeting meals, if applicable. Generally, money from any activity in which only members participate is deposited into the administrative account. Service account is for service programs of the club. Basically, the income for this account is derived from fundraising projects in which the public participates or from designated contributions. Article 8, Section 1 of the club bylaws stipulates monies received for club service activities, regardless of source, may be used only for service activities. The service account covers expenses for all club service activities, as well as all educational, religious, and charitable activities. All right. Did you know clubs can pay all or a portion of each member's expenses for the Kiwanis Education Conference, part of the Kiwanis International Convention, from its service account? A fair practice would be to reimburse 2/3 from the service account and 1/3 from the administrative account for a member attending all three days. Expenses for only attending the Kiwanis annual meeting will not qualify for reimbursement from the service account by Kiwanis standards. Every club is required to have an annual financial review by either an independent auditor or an internal committee. It is so important that it's actually the only required club committee in a standard form for club bylaws. Unless the club chooses an external audit, then it's not required. Making the annual audit a standard practice ensures that the club finances are being handled properly and reinforces the confidence that the club has placed in the treasurer. Should the club choose to have the annual audit performed by an internal committee, the treasurer can be a resource for the committee, but should not serve on the committee. This would be a conflict of interest and would infringe on the independent nature of the audit. Each club in the United States and clubs in some countries are required to be incorporated. Incorporation is typically completed at the time of the new club chartering. However, it's important to ensure that your club's paperwork has been filed. Check in your club files for a copy of the original documents. Kiwanis International and your state or local government agencies will need a copy of these files. Be aware that incorporation must be renewed each year or according to your locale's incorporation laws. Keep the renewal paperwork in club files, and you can call Kiwanis Member Services at 1-800-Kiwanis for additional information. You can call them and they'll be happy to help you. We recommend that records be kept by the club's secretary. As we continue to go through this training, we want to make sure that you're aware of who holds the permanent records in your club. Make sure that you have contact information of your permanent record keeper for future reference. Files to be maintained. The role of the treasurer requires you maintain files on behalf of your club. The files that you're going to make sure that you have a record of are the following: your club checkbook, paid invoices file, your cash receipts file, deposit records, bank statements and reconciliations, and your treasurer's reports, budget files, and official documentation required by state or local law. Okay, your permanent records to keep. Your canceled checks for 7 years, invoices, financial records and reports, and official documents related to the club's foundation. All right. Your budget timeline. August, committees submit their budget and the board approves them for their first meeting. Monthly, each month you will give a financial report to the board. Annually, you will give a financial report to the board. In January, remind members that club gifts are not tax deductible. We also recommend that you consider creating projected return on investment summaries for any club activities. All right, when you're working on your club budget, you want to consider the following questions. Does your club's budget reflect what's important to your club, and what should it be? So in the chat box, we're going to ask you again to share up to 3 things that you think should be included in your annual budget. So if you want to open up your chat and put some things that you think should be included in the budget. Any ideas in a budget? Thoughts? Oh, what do we have? Income fundraising sources, supports the Boys and Girls Club, revenue, expenses, administrative and service, your ongoing expenses, SLP support, yep, Sarah, Kiwanis Foundation donation, administrative expenses. Very important. Okay. Excellent. Okay, reporting expectations. A financial report should be prepared to share at each board meeting. A treasurer's report should be prepared to share at each club's annual meeting. But most importantly, be transparent about all financial records and current financial status with your club at all times. Club grants. The Kiwanis Children's Fund offers grants to help clubs who have a gap in funding for service projects. You can assist your club by applying for one of these grants. So check it out because there are grants available to help. In order to fund service projects, some clubs have established a club foundations. Clubs are required to seek the consent of Kiwanis International prior to establishing a charitable entity or club foundation. Clubs will create separate articles of incorporation and bylaws approved by vote of the club's membership. Banks in the US require an employee identification number, establish a bank account if applicable. Some may require a proof the club's incorporated. Clubs outside of the US should seek bank requirements within their areas. clubs must establish a separate bank account for a foundation. And you may be asked to serve as the club foundation treasurer, but this is optional. All right, Governor Sarah is going to talk about some scenarios. Sarah, you're on mute.
Sorry, we're going to do some participation from the group. Since we're a small group, we're not going to do breakout rooms. We're just going to do some raise hand or just put it in the chat. But I'm going to read a scenario. Your club completes a fundraiser that is open to the public. The club wants to subsidize dues by taking a portion of those fundraising dollars to cover 50% of the dues for all members. Is this approach a good one to help members? Michael Daff, yes, no. What do you guys think? Raise your hand. Tell me what you think about this approach. This has come up a few times. A lot of no's. No, not a good approach. Go ahead to the next slide. You're right. It is not a good idea. As per Kiwanis bylaws, all monies raised from the community must 100% go back to the community from a club's service account. The only portion of the member dues that can be taken from the service account is the liability insurance, which is a liability. And I mentioned that in the chat, the liability plus the risk management fee equals the $22. So you'll notice on the one slide, Barb was showing you what was an administrative and what was on the service account. Liability insurance, which encompasses that risk management fee, are on both, can be coming out of your admin fund or your service account. The reason why it can come out of your service is because you're doing either a service project or some event. Sometimes some clubs don't have a strong administrative fund, but have a stronger service fund. So that's the only what we call subsidizing you could do from the club. Again, that is an option. But number one, most dues your dues cannot be subsidized from anything raised from the community for the most part. There, that's what the Kiwanis bylaws suggest. So everyone who says no, you got it right. So let's take a look at one more scenario. A service leadership program faculty advisor at the local elementary school cannot afford to be part of the Kiwanis Club, but fully supports the K kids, and they would be amazing Kiwanians. What would you as treasurer recommend to your board to add the advisor to your club? What would be an approach? You can either put in chat or feel free to unmute yourself. I know this has come up with a few people. We got some great service leadership program advisors, but they just can't afford the dues. So what as treasurer would you recommend to try to get this person in?
Is it okay to speak out like this, or do I have?
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it, Bob.
This scenario just came up last week with one of our board meetings in trying to create a key club at our local high schools. And we were divided on it. Some were very strong that it should not be coming out of any of our funds. Others felt that it should come from the participating school district as a stipend to the teacher involved per contract, for the school district. It's rather confusing to me. I'm still too new at this to understand, is there a proper answer?
Right. It's really a club decision. If you go ahead to, did anyone else put it in here? Well, dollars for dues are for existing members. So this would be a advisor who would be new. So new members are not eligible for dollars for dues. It's for existing members. Go ahead, hit the next slide. So a possible answer is if your club has a healthy administrative fund, ask if the club can either pay for that service leadership program faculty advisor or if a payment plan is possible. So that would be ideal, but if a club doesn't have a strong administrative fund, that's the challenge. You want to reach out to the school district to see if they could, like Bob was saying, if a possible stipend would be available, or if the school would help pay for them to be part of that, because it's important for them to be have that seat at the table with, if they're the advisor for those K kids. So it is, I hear both sides of it too, Bob. So, but I know some clubs have paid for that advisor. For dues, if it's a dues, so Chad, when we're talking about dues, typically we say it comes out of the administrative fund, and we can take the $22 out of the service, because dues can't come out of money that is raised from the community. That's the Kiwanis bylaws. So. But yeah, it's a tricky one though. Well, it's the dues for the well, if the faculty advisor is joining the Kiwanis Club, I'm speaking more about the dues. If we are supporting dollars for a project for the K kids for that faculty advisor, yes, that can come out of the service. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, Chad. Okay, great. All right, go ahead. Next slide, Barb. But yeah, very tricky one. All right, so I'm going to go over the exciting world of forms. So this is only for US clubs, so I want to talk a little bit about some of these forms for you. Next slide. So incorporation, each club is required to incorporate for new clubs. You want to confirm your club has your original paperwork. Kiwanis International and your state have a local copy if you need a copy. Incorporation must be renewed annually. Incorporation. The newer clubs are doing this as well. All right, we have the U.S. Revenue Act regarding fundraising solicitation. So just so you know, federal legislation requires that any fundraising solicitation on or behalf of Kiwanis clubs and the district must include an express statement that contribution or gifts to the club are not deductible as charitable contributions for federal income tax purposes. The statement must be in a conspicuous and easily recognized format regardless of the format. So this is if you are, I'm not talking about your club foundations, I'm specifically talking about your clubs that are not, club foundations. This is something that you need to make sure that people know that it's not the charitable contributions for federal tax purposes. They're not deductible. Okay, next. The Form 990. The IRS requires, and I'll give you the link for this so you guys are familiar. Every club needs to file them on by February 15th. The IRS requires all US-based Kiwanis clubs to submit a 990 form annually. Failure to file in a timely manner may put your club's incorporation status at risk. And trust me, it takes a long time. It takes some time and some money to get that back. So make sure you are filing. The 990s is a very simple form. That link will give you some resources, kind of walk you through some of those resources. So the treasurer typically does that. The Form 8976. The IRS has recently passed a new regulation requiring all newly formed 501c4 organizations to notify the IRS of their intention to operate as a 501c4 by filing Form 8976 as stated in the Internal Revenue Code 26 CFR 1.506. So in English, in the next slide, this might be a little clearer. So almost all the Kiwanis clubs in the US operate as a 501c4. So if you have a foundation, that is a 501c3. But when you, your clubs by itself is a 501c4, according to the IRS. So clubs must report their EIN to the Kiwanis International, who reports it to IRS. So just so you know. And then here's a little chart. Basically, do you have to file the 8976? So here's a quick little yes, no. Did your club file tax documents such as a 990 and Form 990 EZ or Form 990 or Form 1024 with the IRS prior to July 8th, 2016? So did your club file any of these? Yes, they have. Then you do not need to file the Form 8976, okay? Most clubs probably on here have been, are not brand new to our district. So you most likely do not have to file the 8976. But if your club was formed after July 8, 2016, but we have some new clubs, you have to file this 8976 form, which is an electronic form. So when we open new clubs, we have to file 8976 due to new IRS regulations. But if you are a younger club, maybe some are, some of your clubs were not, you would have to. So, yeah.
Sarah, there's a question in the chat here right now. It says, does this restriction apply solely for funds to the administrative account?
Does which?
Probably the filing of the 990. Is that what you're questioning,
No,
Bob?
I was kind of a step behind the
Okay,
slide.
sorry.
The statement about non-deductibility of funds raised,
Mhm.
does that apply only to funds that would come into our administrative account or those that go into the service account? Why,
So-
I'm not sure I understand why they're not deductible.
So yeah, you're a 501c4 according to the tax laws. That's a non-taxable donation. So if you are at a fundraiser and you don't have a foundation, which is a 501c3, most clubs just have your regular, like just a club without a foundation.
Right.
You
I think
cannot-
your next slide helped me answer that because we
yeah.
do have a foundation as part of our
Okay.
club. So
Okay.
if they donate through the foundation, that would be tax deductible. But
Yes,
if they donate to a fundraiser that we happen to have as a service program, that would not be.
correct.
So I get it now. Your second slide, as I was typing that, kind of answered it without, so there was that delay. That's why they bumped that way. I
Oh, okay.
apologize for confusing it.
No worries. Yeah, there's always confusion between the 501c3 and the 4. It took me some time as well. Yeah, that's basically the IRS law. That's just how it is. You're the
Yeah.
C4.
The 990 doesn't have a dollar value on it, to the best of my recollection, too.
Right. It doesn't, I think, no, it's a very simple form. Yeah. I believe
Yeah, there's-
though,
Postcard form that is submitted electronically for most people probably, and
I think you do have to file if you have like a high, and I don't remember the threshold, but if you have a high dollar
990.
amount,
Sarah, 990 N, if you're under 50,000, you
That's
can
it.
file the N. If it's above that, you have to file one of the other forms.
correct. Dennis, you have a question? Go ahead.
Well, I have a possible answer because I have done this stuff. The
Okay.
reason why your dues are not tax deductible because they're not voluntary. It's a requirement of the organization. And therefore, any group that you are a part of that charges dues, membership dues, those are not tax deductible either. It's something beyond what the group says. So if you give a donation upon the $117 or whatever, then that could be tax deductible. But the fact is that what your dues are is not.
You're talking about if it's going to a foundation
Anything.
as well?
Right. If you're allowed to do anything, the tax deduct anything with the group, definitely foundation.
Yeah, definitely
But-
foundation.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So we talked about the 8976. Good questions.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, and we talked about this. If you answered no to those questions, then on the previous slide, which most of you, your Kiwanis Club was organized prior to July 8, 2016, you are required to file the 8976 immediately. I don't think that applies to most of the clubs that are here, so we can go to the next slide. So as a reminder, these are many things you need to keep organized and to maintain the books for your Kiwanis Club. You want to make sure you report club financials monthly, report administrative and service accounts separately. Even if you have a physical checking account, that's one checking account, you have a logical separation of what's in administrative and service account. I know some clubs actually have physical 2 checking accounts, one for administrative and service if they're larger clubs. But I know a couple smaller clubs that just have 1 checking account, but they logically divide their budget into administrative and service. And we want to keep track of that. You know, what your income is coming in from the community versus your members, and what comes out obviously to pay to Kiwanis International for dues, things like that. So you want to make sure you're reporting those separately. You want to reconcile your bank accounts monthly, of course. Give receipts, require an invoice or check request for checks written. Act as a cashier at meetings if needed. For fundraisers, make sure you're involved. The treasurer is involved in many aspects of the club, with the events, because there's always some kind of financial component. If you have a service project, who's buying materials, your fundraiser, you're making sure you're collecting the income in that. So make sure you act as the cashier, provide records for an annual audit, and then retain records for 7 years. Barb mentioned the audit earlier. Your bylaws specify you can either choose an outside entity to do an audit of your financials, or select a committee internally. Most clubs have selected to have a review internal to their club, but it usually is not the officers. You always want to have somebody who has that experience. You want to make sure it's someone else besides the treasurer who are looking at that. Another set of eyes is always the best way to do that. Annually, this should happen as well, the annual audit. We do this at the district level. We actually hire an accounting firm that handles our audits to review our finances. But we obviously are at the district level. And then you want to retain your financial records for 7 years. So if you get past the treasurer book, I just actually, because I became treasurer last year, and I got years and years of canceled checks, and it was way past 7 years. So we decided to shred them. So anything past 7 years, we shredded many things and statements. So just make sure you're retaining records for 7 years at least as a minimum. It's just the best practice. Okay. Next, so we're in the home stretch, which is great. We have time for questions. So what's next for you guys? So we gave you a lot of information here today. We want you to make sure you review your leadership development guide that we have a link, and we're also going to email it to you as well. You participate in a transition meeting with your current and incoming officers. So if you are a new treasurer, you want to make sure you're working with your old treasurer and make sure that you guys have that smooth transition going into October 1st. And then review the club dues and invoice procedures that the current treasurer is doing, and ensure that you understand those procedures as well, because you'll carry them on. And then verify your login to access the Kiwanis Connect portal, which is where you'll see the finances and be able to get the invoices, as well as the secretary. You're going to work with the secretary because they usually also get that mailed to them as well. And of course, you want to set your goals for the next administrative year. Make sure as treasurer, what are your goals? Think about it. What is my 30-day goal? What is my 60-day goal? My 90-day goal for as treasurer? So think about that. And remember, you're not alone. You have your club officers work as a team to make sure you're developing great strategy so you are financially stable for your club. So next, I know we threw a lot of links in. There's a lot of great discussion questions in the chat. You can save the chat. We have added that feature to our meetings. And what you do is to do that, if you want to save it, you don't have to. There is that picture there in the chat where it says everyone, go all the way to the right. You see those 3 dots, or what we call ellipse. And you click on that and you select save chat. And when you save the chat there, it'll say chat is saved, show in folder, and then click on show in folder and you should see where that text file is on your computer. And so you will have the links all in a text document. But of course, we will send this PowerPoint will be sent and also posted on the PA Kiwanis website at the end of this week. But you'll get an email also from me with the PowerPoint. Okay. So lastly, we have a survey for you to take. You know, we're always trying to improve our club leadership education offerings. I have a team of great trainers and we want to make sure we're always improving. So we ask that you take a survey about tonight's session. And if you've taken other sessions, I recognize a few names, make sure you also complete one for the sessions that you have attended if you haven't already. We appreciate all your feedback. And next slide, that's the survey link. So if you guys have questions, anything that I can help you with, Barb or Conrad, you can let us know if you have questions right now. And then this is our contact. Myself and Governor-elect Mike Kuba are here for you as well throughout the year.